Hello, and welcome back to another episode of TKO Stigma, the talk show series where we knock out stigma with open conversation. What is stigma? Stigma is a false or negative view about mental health, and the way to get rid of it is with open convo. And here to help us do that is Mr. Chuck Cawthon of CMA, Contemporary Martial Arts, out in Hartwell, Georgia. Thank you so much for being here, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Really do appreciate it. Maybe you could let the people know a little bit about your background and where you come from.
Okay. So my journey to martial arts was a long one. When I was born, I was born to a 19-year-old young mom, my mom. But a few years after I was born, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, which was a form of cancer. And after that, our father was abusive to my younger children, my mom. Eventually that led to foster care for my brothers. My grandparents adopted me. And of course, at that point in time, my grandparents were retired. So we didn't really have a lot of money. So we grew up kind of poor. I never went without food or clothing, but we were always very penny pinching with our money, because living on Social Security and retirement really wasn't a lot of money. So not only that, but my grandparents were carrying me back and forth to Atlanta for cancer treatments, for radiation, chemotherapy. Eventually I had close to 13, 14 operations. I've had a splenectomy, my thyroid's removed along with my spleen. I've had 5 surgeries on my neck, removing cancerous tumors, and I've also had a couple of things go awry with my feet. They had to run some dye through my feet, and that kind of messed up the blood flow. And so I was in a wheelchair for a while, and so this is all before the age of 10. And so my grandparents,
wow. Yeah, that sounds like a lot, man.
It was, and it's going through, when you're talking about mental health, and when I was a kid, I remember stepping. My mom talked about this a lot. When my father was being abusive to my little brothers, that I would try to step in between. And when he was abusive to my mom, I would try to get in between him and my mom. And I'd sit in her lap, and she would try to move me so I wouldn't get hit, so she would get hit, and it was just really tough for a kid. And with especially going through cancer and going through all these treatments. And so eventually my grandparents adopted me and got me out of that environment. And then my father went to prison eventually. My mother got married several times. My little brothers were in foster care. And so my little brothers that I knew, we had a younger brother that was put up for adoption the day he was born. So my mom didn't want him in that household. So I'm the oldest. I've got 2 younger brothers that are twins. And then the youngest brother was put up for adoption. And so eventually, fast forward to our brother that was put up for adoption. On his 21st birthday month, we found him. We got to know him, and he and his family. He only lives 30 minutes from us.
Wow, that is an incredible story, man. Yeah, that is a heck of a journey. You are a true fighter. I mean, well, that is a lot.
Thank you. But to me, my brother, I lived in a stable household, even though we were poor. I lived in a very stable household. I went back and forth weekends with my parents and my father when he got out of prison. So my brothers lived in that environment. So to me, my brothers are my heroes. They're the ones that were the fighters. They lived in that environment where I was. They were in foster care for a little bit, but I was living with my grandparents, and my brothers lived with my mom and father through all that, elementary, middle school, and high school. Eventually, my brothers got married, and they have their own families. They've got land. They've got children. They've been with their wife since they first married. So they're the success stories, in my opinion. They're my heroes, because the only thing I had to go through was just not having a lot of money and cancer.
Yeah, just those.
I mean,
I mean, we all have our own journeys, and I feel like in some ways, we can all inspire each other. I'm sure that your brothers look to you as overcoming cancer, as fighting through cancer, as a sign of strength and inspiration as well.
Well, I'd like to think so. And being the big brother, the oldest brother, you always want you want your little brothers to look up to you.
Yeah.
And I like to think that they do. My one of my brothers, his son, he named his son after me. So I don't have any children, and so when my youngest brother, one of the twins, said that he and his wife were going to have a baby, and I was so happy for him. I was around 19, and he was younger. He was 18, something 18. And he said, if he's a boy, we're going to name him after you.
That's awesome.
And so that's, my brother looked up to me that much. So that made me feel good.
That's awesome. Now, did you feel like, when did your martial arts journey start? How did that integrate in to your story? So
when I was in the hospital, the only thing, I was in the Ron McDonald house for a while, living in the Ron McDonald house in Atlanta. And then I was in the hospital a lot. And so there was a lot of TV involved. There was no PlayStations back then, back in the early 80s, late 70s. So the only thing I had was cartoons and superhero, the old Superman, black and white Superman. I watched that a lot. But there was a cartoon that I really fell in love with, that I really clicked. And this was when I was in the hospital. This was before the ninja craze even happened. But it was Hong Kong Phooey. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't know that one.
So you're going to have to Google it.
Yeah, definitely. After the show.
After the show, Google that. But some of the people, hopefully they know who Hong Kong Phooey is. But I was in the hospital, and I would always tell my grandpa to go look for it. Hong Kong Phooey had a book of Kung Fu, and that he would learn moves from and beat the bad guys up, right?
Yeah.
So my grandpa said he was going to look for it, but I'm pretty sure he just went to go get some coffee and came back.
Yeah.
But he entertained the idea of going to look for it for me. And so that's where I got the Kung Fu kind of like, wow, it's kicking, it's punching.
Yeah.
And I think because I had cancer, I really connected and wanted to be a superhero. I felt like, I didn't want to be me, but I didn't want to have limitations.
Did you want to be your own hero?
Maybe, not thinking that much about it. I just knew that I didn't want to have the limitations I had.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to run, play games. I wanted to do it. And superheroes and Hong Kong Phooey martial arts is like, wow, they're above average. I want that.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was 10, there was the Kung Fu, the ninja craze, and Kung Fu theater was happening. And one of our local high school teachers was a black belt in Taekwondo, and he started Taekwondo classes at the recreation department here. His name's John Cleveland. He passed away a few years ago. He was my childhood mentor. If he said jump, I said how high. If he said go cut the grass at 3 a.m., I'd get up at 3 a.m. and I'd cut the grass. He was my first martial arts mentor. And so that started when I was 10. It was the first sport that I ever did. My grandparents wouldn't let me do anything. I was of course I couldn't either. I couldn't play football. I was too small, too skinny. The operations of my neck, I couldn't take hits to the head.
Yeah.
All those things.
But you found an outlet with the martial arts.
With martial arts, it was amazing. It gave me so much confidence of just not thinking and knowing that I could defend myself at that age. It was just, I could see the tangible evidence of physical improvement in my body, and that gave me confidence in all the other aspects of my life.
Yes, that's one of the big things that we mentioned on the show, is that the confidence and self-esteem that you build during class carries over into almost every aspect of life. It's a common theme amongst martial artists, and you're clearly testifying to that today. It's something that, for me, it's broken barriers in my life. It's opened doors, allowing me to make personal progress in my life, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Did you experience that? New opportunities opening up?
Yes. What was funny, and sometimes it's unexplainable, especially with, maybe I don't have enough vocabulary to explain it, but when I was a teenager, I knew that I was going to teach martial arts the rest of my life. Like I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know. I didn't have a plan B. There's no plan B in my life. It's like martial arts gave me so much confidence with my peers, with my with all the activities outside of martial arts. I was more outgoing, I think. I was, I had lots of friends across the board. I didn't have one certain clique. I mixed with a variety of friends in high school and still do. And then when I graduated high school, I was like, all right, well, I gotta find a job that I can do during the day so I can teach karate at night. I never imagined that I would be a full-time martial arts instructor. And a few years passed after high school, and I just met the right partner, my wife Carolina, and she believed in me enough to say, hey, I think we can open up instead of teaching at a recreation department, I think we can do a martial arts business. And with my confidence and then with her confidence, it just took off.
You're a dynamic duo.
Yes.
You found a good match,
yes.
Somebody to support
Yes.
your growth.
Yes.
And I see that a lot in the martial arts community. A lot of martial artists, regardless of background, regardless of ethnicity or political or all those other things, they seem to want to support each other's growth.
Yes. There's I would rather see a local karate school that's in my vicinity prosper than to go under. And it's like and being a coach, I think that's kind of the way you see it. You want your students to be more successful physically, financially, and in martial arts more than you are. And I think if you're a good parent or a good coach, you want those people to be more successful in all areas of life than you.
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word parent and coach together because it does feel like a family type of atmosphere that you're building through martial arts.
Yeah, I like to think so. We call it our CMA family, and it really is extended families. I've got, as everyone knows, you have friends that you love and care as deeply about as you do a brother or a sister, and they don't have to be blood related to be family. And so that's the kind of atmosphere that we like to produce here at Contemporary Martial Arts. And I consider everyone that stayed with me long term to be my extended family.
That's so cool and so important. If you're dealing with depression or anxiety or these other mental health issues, having social support, a social support system in place is so important and so beneficial to help us individually make progress in life and get past those things that have been holding us back. And it's incredible to me that martial arts is like a facilitator for that. It's like the catalyst.
It amplifies your confidence. If you have a little bit of confidence, then it just multiplies it.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey for me. It sounds like an incredible journey for you. Are there things when you're teaching students? Are there issues that you run into when it comes to maybe stigma? Kids being teased about mental health, and they maybe come to you as a way to get around that, or do you experience
we've had cases like that, and it's and usually it's parents who were recommended by their doctors to join martial arts as opposed to any other sport because of those, and I get a lot of when I was younger I felt uneasy about it, but now that I'm older, most adults are more open about it, and then when they first come to me and say, this is why I want to do martial arts, and this is why I want to do whatever program we have, and these are the problems I'm going through. Like I said earlier, I really think the tangible evidence, not only with either earning belts in jiu-jitsu or karate, but getting better in Muay Thai, getting better in wrestling, whatever program we do, along with the physical improvements of their body, they can see it. And so once you see something change, and once you see something change for the better, it just gives you that much more confidence. So I think tangible evidence with belts and also to the physical improvements. We've got one friend of mine who's well over 300 pounds, and he started martial arts because of that. And he has been nonstop. He has lost, dozens of pounds, and he came in today after work to work out an hour before he did fitness kickboxing class for another hour.
Nice.
So,
he's got that fire.
Just got the fire, and,
Yeah.
and he could see his mental health growing, and his confidence getting better, and his depression or low self-esteem just gets starting to improve. And then, of course, once you feel that, you physically look like you feel better. So then people are going to compliment the way you look.
Yeah.
And, of course, that makes everyone feel better. And so it just snowballs.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, man. I had no idea about the mental health aspects of martial arts or boxing training or heavy bag training until I tried it for myself. As soon as I started hitting that bag and feeling that physical release and seeing my body physically progress and feeling that weight, that stress relieved through physical action, I had no idea how powerful of a mental health tool martial arts can be. And that's one of the things we try to do on this show, is to raise awareness that this is a possible avenue that maybe will click with you. You've got to find what works for you, and there's a lot of different avenues. But if this is the one and nobody knows about it, then you're not going to find it, right? So I want to encourage everybody to get out there and try different things. Look for different avenues. And if you get a chance, try martial arts, because it's powerful stuff. And you're a testament to that.
Thank you.
So I feel like that's a good segue into a closer. If there's anything you'd like to tell the people out there, any final words for them?
Well, on the note of finding a martial art, just any martial art will do, especially if you're looking more toward the internal improvement of mental health. If you're looking more for self-defense, make sure you don't just jump into the first karate school that you find. Shop around, talk to the instructors, make sure you feel good, make sure it's a good vibe. Just like anything else, if you don't feel comfortable at the beginning, then you probably won't feel comfortable later on. So find another gym, but make sure you shop around.
Great advice. Thank you so much for being here, for being part of this, and for lending us your space to make a positive impact. That's all we've got for today.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time. And thanks everybody out there for tuning in.